Hello everybody, this is Howard the Teaserking. I just had an in-depth first round and AFC video. Now I'm going to do the NFC. I'll try to do it quicker, but the information is very good, so there's no reason to rush through it, just to rush through it. And you can certainly watch part of it and then come back to it. Or look for your favorite team and look for your favorite player. Alright, let's start out with Arizona. This is the NFC 2020 draft. First pick, Isaiah Simmons, linebacker. I don't think he's a linebacker. I think he's a safety. He's fast. Is he a football player? I don't know. Didn't show up much against Ohio State, but he did make one interception. Didn't show up against LSU. Against Arizona, he's going to have to face Russell Wilson, and he's going to have to face the San Francisco running attack, and not much from the Rams. So, will he start? Yeah, because they're so lousy, but I don't know really how good he is. Clemson doesn't play anybody. The ACC is very weak, so we'll see. But right now we'll say it's a decent pick. It's okay. It's not great. It's not a Joe Burrow where he's an automatic Joe Montana. O-lineman from Houston next, third round. Okay, that's maybe when I start taking O-lineman. Defensive tackle from Utah. I like that. This guy's very good. Utah had a very good defense. Very good pick. Better than the Simmons pick. Lawrence, defensive lineman, LSU. Absolutely better than the Simmons pick. Evan Weaver, linebacker from Cal. Don't know much about him. Eno Benjamin, Arizona State. Excellent pick. So you need some balance. So I like Benjamin. He'll make the team. I think Photo can start. I think Lawrence from LSU can start. So you got your defensive line much improved. You got a good running back. This Jones probably is a backup on the line, and Simmons overrated right now. Let's see what he can do. I think Patrick Peterson's still there, so maybe he can teach them. But their problem's still their offense. Murray running around. You still have a big problem there, but with Benjamin, maybe they can run the ball and rest the defense more. So we'll see. So it's a nice draft. I'll give it a B, a nice solid B. Atlanta, what did they do? It's a mess. I'm going to give this an F. Cornerback from Clemson, I don't agree with. Defensive end from Auburn, I like. O-lineman from Temple, third round, okay. Linebacker from Fresno State, you got the wrong year. All the studs at Fresno State were 2 years ago. Last year they were average. Safety from Cal, I don't get all these safeties from Cal. Cal was not that strong. 2 years ago, them and Fresno State were very strong defensively. All right, let's look at Cal. So let's go to the Pac-10. Cal gave up 21-9. Washington was 19. Utah was 15. Oregon was 60. That's why I'm high on the Utah guys. They gave up 15 a game in that conference. Is outstanding. So, not crazy on the Cal guy. The kicker from Syracuse, whatever. So, a cornerback on Clemson will make the team. He's a stub. He'll get burnt a lot. The defensive end from Auburn, linebacker from Fresno is nothing. The safety. The only guy that's any good is the defensive end from Auburn. So you got one guy who might play, and you got three guys that'll make the team, your top three picks. So that's an F. And they're not at good positions. The old lineman doesn't really matter. Your cornerback from Clemson, Drew Brees is going to toast this guy. And Davison, the defense of Auburn, will help you. You need help on defense. You don't draft a cornerback with the 16th pick. You could have drafted Delpit from LSU, who's 100 times better. Terrible pick. I give him an F. I give them 6 wins, only because of their offense, but their defense. This is an over team. they're going to be give up a lot of points defensively. Let's look at last year. Atlanta scored 24, gave up 25. With this draft, they'll score 24 and give up 28. They'll be a weak team again. They'll probably win 6 games. All right, Carolina. Carolina, let's see. You have a defensive tackle from Auburn with the 7th pick. Terrible. Defensive end, Penn State, okay. Safety from Southern Illinois, incredibly stupid. Cornerback from Notre Dame, maybe a safe. So you drafted, you got Matt Rule from Temple, who went to Baylor after the sex scandal, and then he goes to Carolina, who was loaded defensively, and they all quit because they didn't like when the coach left. So he drafts 2 defensive linemen, 3 defensive linemen, 4 secondary. What kind of stupid draft is this? This is an F. The kid from Auburn with the 7th pick is incredibly stupid. Who are you going to beat with this? You have your quarterback if you go with Will Grier. You got your running back. You don't have any receivers. Your offense is weak. I don't know if Olsen's still there and still playing. Okay, so you've helped your defensive line, which you really didn't need help on. You drafted 4 in the secondary, who maybe 1 can play. I mean, maybe the kid from Notre Dame, which I don't. They weren't that good. West Virginia sucked. Southern Illinois, who the hell knows? So you might have one guy. I see 2 guys making your team here. Maybe your first 2 picks. I'm not sold on them. Okay, Auburn had a fairly good defense. LSU only put up 20-something on them. So we'll give Auburn some credit and Penn State guys some credit. And that's it. I'm sorry. This is an F. This is terrible. And it's not even, it's just who you drafted. You drafted 4 guys in the secondary. Did you not have anybody in your secondary last year? All right, now I got to look. Let's see. Fucking Carolina. Scored 21, gave up 29. So, yeah, their defense sucked. Their offense wasn't anything to write home about. And now guess what? Your defense probably will still suck. Your offense, you're going to go from 21 down to 17 a game. So you're going to lose games 17 to maybe 27. You're turning into an under team. If any of these defensive players are any good, which I doubt, maybe the Auburn kid, what are you drafting them 7th for? So they're going to turn into an under team. I see Carolina with this type of drafting. It's terrible. F. The Bears. Oh my God, the Bears. Tight end from Notre Dame, you didn't need. You got 10 tight ends on your team. I didn't know the tight end from Notre Dame, and I watched Notre Dame was that good. Defensive back from Utah, I like. Defensive men from Tulsa, you got to be kidding. Cornerback from Georgia Southern, you got to be kidding. Wide receiver from Tulane, and the 2 offensive linemen. The only thought of the draft I like of the offensive lineman drafted in the 7th round makes sense. Kid from Oklahoma State probably can be a backup. And I like the defensive back from Utah. So you got 2 players there. It's an F. Again, the Bears will be lucky if they win 3 games. You know, these GMs, I just sit there. They're the stupidest. How they become GMs and draft and understand what they're drafting and the talent and the positions that you need to draft and the spots you need to draft them. They're all freaking idiots. No wonder New England wins every year. I mean, the competition is horrible. C.D. Lamb, wide receiver, Oklahoma. Okay, but a stupid pick. Okay, he's a good receiver. You got whatchamacallit, the kid from Alabama. You've got Ezekiel Elliott. What you needed was a quarterback. The problem you have, Dallas, and listen up, is your quarterback stinks. He's not good. He throws too many interceptions in the big games. He's not a winner. Never was a winner. Get rid of him. That's your problem. So C.D. Lamb, great. He'll overthrow him down. You don't run Elliott enough. Trevon, defensive back from Alabama, we all know their stories. He'll get toasted. D-lineman from Oklahoma, I didn't realize Oklahoma's defense was any good. Cornerback from Tulsa, I didn't realize Tulsa was any good. So you're just drafting guys around Oklahoma, it looks like. All right, O-lineman from Wisconsin, 4th round, good pick. Defensive end, Utah, good pick. Quarterback, Ben DiNucci. What are you kidding me? That's your quarterback, Jake Fromm? Yeah, if you're going to do that, draft Jake Fromm instead of Ben Anayi from Utah in the 5th round if you're going to do this, and then draft Anayi in the 7th round. So who makes the team? CeeDee Lamb will make the team, but a wasted pick, not what you needed. DB from Alabama is a waste. The lineman from Oklahoma is a waste. Cornerback. You got 2 guys that'll make your team, that'll do any good. It's the Oklahoma and the Wisconsin. And maybe the DN from Utah will be a good backup. The Oklahoma guy and the Alabama guy are toast. They might be out there, but they'll be toast. So I give this a D. Really weak draft. Dallas, until you get rid of your quarterback, who I just drew a blank on. Oh my God, my mind's going. Until you get rid of your quarterback and bring in a good one, you ain't winning 8 games. Bet heavily against them on the road against good teams. The Lions, my bitch. Now the Lions, you bet against. These are bet against. They could have drafted Barry Sanders, Emmitt Smith, Troy Aikman, Michael Irvin, Joe Montana. It wouldn't matter because it's the coach. Vince Lombardi comes in, the team's won 2 games, comes in, they win 7, then they go to the championship game and lose, then they go to the championship game and win. Why? Because his first day he comes in, he says, a lot of you guys aren't going to make the team, and he brings in players that are good. That's not what you got with Matt Patricia. Matt Patricia knows about as much about coaching an NFL team as I do about rocket ships. Okay, the guy's clueless. All these guys from New England, Belichick runs the team. He's got the control. They just watch him. But it's like a magician. I'm gonna do a trick, but I'm not gonna show you how I do it. All these assistants run out, but they don't know how to coach. So it doesn't matter who the draft. I'm giving it an F because it doesn't matter. These guys have no fucking clue how to coach a team, how to win, what players to put in. As long as they have Matthew Stafford there and winning crap. Let me look at it. Okuda, okay, he'll replace the guy that just left. Whoop-de-doo. Terrible pick for number 3. Should have drafted Tagovailoa, traded him to Miami, or made something that, I really want to get rid of Stafford and tried to get Joe Burrow with Stafford in the 3 pick. Cincinnati would have taken it because Cincinnati didn't need they had Andy Dalton. If they have Stafford, it's the same thing. They need the players. They have no player. They have no defense. So they would have made the trade. So you got Okuda, big deal. DeAndre Swift should have got J.K. Dobbins. Swift, okay, running back. This ain't Georgia. He did okay in the SEC. Let's see, what do I got on? Let me look at my running backs. So DeAndre Swift, Georgia. All right, 14 games, 1,200 yards, which is only 87 a game. Okay, so he rushes 196 times for 1,200 yards, 87 yards a game on an offense predicated in running the ball. Yards per attempt, 6.2, 7 touchdowns is it. But let's look at J.K. Dobbins. The same 14 games, rushes 300 times, gets 2,000 yards, 6.7 yard average against Michigan, Wisconsin twice, Penn State, Clemson. look at the difference, 21 touchdowns. Okay, so the best team Georgia had was LSU. Florida, they didn't have a problem with, and they don't never play Alabama, and they played LSU once in a championship game. So Dobbins had much harder competition with 2 Wisconsins, a Penn State, a Michigan, and a Clemson. And he had 21 touchdowns and averaged 143 yards a game. The only better running back is Chuba Hubbard from Oklahoma State. But again, in that weak division, and then Malcolm Perry, he had 2,000 yards as a running back from Navy. I bet Navy. I didn't bet him enough last year. But, okay, so bad pick there. Could have had Dobbins. Defensive lineman, Notre Dame. Who knows? O-lineman, Ohio State. All right, 3rd round. That's when you take him. A guard from Kentucky. Okay. Wide receiver from Wisconsin. You don't draft wide receivers from Wisconsin because they don't throw the ball very good. When you could have wide receivers from LSU and Alabama and all that shit. Running back from New Mexico State. What the hell is that? Defensive tackle from Utah. Okay, I'll give you some. And some defensive tackle from Ohio State who wasn't even a starter. So, 3 defensive linemen, of which the kid from Utah is probably the best in the 6th round, but they're all backups. But the Lions' line was so bad that, but none of them are pass rushers. They're all defensive tackles. An O-lineman from Ohio State will be a good backup. Okuda will make the team because they let the other guy go. The guy quit because he doesn't like Patricia. And then Swift from Georgia, but you have the kid from Auburn, the kid from Alabama, and it doesn't matter. No matter who you got, you could have Barry Sanders and Emmitt Smith in the backfield. They're not running the ball. They want to throw the ball. They're not going to run it. Stafford is in control. Until you get rid of him, he's going to try to throw the ball 50 times a game. Running is not an option. 3rd and 1, it's going to be a pass. In the red zone, it's going to be passes. And they're going to maybe win 3 games if they're lucky. Everybody says, well, they only won 3 because Stafford went out. And I'm like, they only won 3 with Stafford. They were 3-5, 3-6 with him. Their defense kills them. That's Patricia's area. It's a very weak team with a very weak system and a very weak GM and a very weak coach. Need I say more? So no matter what Swift, he won't get the ball and he'll get injured. Just like all the other players, they'll get injured. Wink, wink. They don't really get injured. They just don't want to play. And so they all sit out. Terrible draft. I'll give it a D. I'll be nice. Green Bay, one of the worst drafts I've ever seen in my life. I'm going to give it a D. Jordan Love, terrible pick, 1st round. What are you doing? He's not good. Josh Love, the kid from San Jose State's better than this guy. He had a big year last year. What are you doing? You could have had Jake Fromm, but for some reason nobody thinks Jake Fromm's any good, even though all he did at Georgia, and he beat Fields out at Ohio State, made him go to Ohio State. Terrible pick. A.J. Dillon, running back, BC's a good runner, but again, it's like the Lions. It doesn't matter who your running back is. They're going to throw the ball. They're not trying to run it. Tight end from Cincinnati. I like Cincinnati. They had a good team last year. Maybe he fits in. Linebacker from Minnesota. All right, I like your O-lineman from Michigan and Oregon in the 6th round. That's when you get your backups. Safety from TCU, I don't see it. And anybody from Miami on the defense, I don't see it. So of your guys making the team, Dillon, the tight end from Cincy, and your couple of linemen from Michigan and Oregon are be good backups. So you got 4 guys. Okay, so you backed up your O-line. You didn't get a wide receiver. The kid from Cincinnati's okay, but you could have had so many better wide receivers. You could have had Peoples-Jones from Michigan, which is a 6th-round pick. You could have had him instead of one of these linemen or the linebacker from Minnesota. The linebacker from Minnesota is not that good. So you didn't help your defense, which was a big problem. And to get a running back, you didn't need. You needed receivers. Jordan Love, Even if you are taking a quarterback in the first round, which makes no sense, you didn't get the right one. This is a D. Should be an F. Minnesota wins the division, but their problem is Kirk Cousins. They have the best coach in the division, Minnesota, but Green Bay, again, this is like the Lions. Their coach, who knows, not a good coach. You got Aaron Rodgers. You didn't get him wide receivers. They might win the division because of Aaron Rodgers, and that's it. But the rest is just lousy. It's a D draft. Again, they don't know what they're thinking. All right, next up is the Rams. The Rams. Man, oh man, I don't see much here. Cam Akers, Florida State. No, he was good as a freshman, but he didn't do much last year. Van Jefferson, wide receiver, Florida. That's a reach. You have wide receivers, LA. Linebacker from Alabama, forget about it. Defensive back from Utah, I like. Tight end, Purdue, good pick. Safety from Ohio State. Jeff Fuller, yeah, he was a starter last year. Okay, I'll give you credit. Linebacker from Baylor, yeah, maybe. Kicker from Miami of Ohio, and a tackle from Clemson. So Akers and Jefferson add no value to your team. Your problem is Jared Goff stinks and he's a choker. And until you get by him, you're not going to win anything anyway. Adding a linebacker and a defensive back. The defensive back's okay. Linebacker, Alabama's a wasted pick. Tight end from Purdue is good. Safety from Ohio State. And linebacker from Baylor are probably pretty good. So you got about 4 or 5 players, but you got rid of your running back Gurley, and you didn't replace him. Akers is not Gurley by a mile. I'll give this a C because you got a couple of guys from Utah and Ohio State here, but you got 4 or 5 that'll make the team. Overall, Frisco and Seattle are fighting it for the division. You're going to be 8 or 9 wins. Good coach, lousy quarterback. Minnesota. Well, they drafted a whole team here. 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 15 draft picks. Are you freaking kidding me? What are you going to do with 15 draft picks? No, you lost your receiver to Buffalo. You lost 5 or 6 defensive players that were all pros, and you still got Kirk Cousins. Jefferson replaces the kid who went to Buffalo, got him, Diggs. Jefferson replaces Diggs. He's better than Diggs. Cornerback from TCU, okay, he'll be there. O-lineman from Boise, just plug him in. A nothing. Cornerback, Old Mississippi State. Linebacker, South. It's just a bunch of names. Nobody really any good. Just a bunch of picks. I like Kenny Willekes from Michigan State in the 7th round. That's a steal. He'll be a starter. Nate Stanley out of Iowa is better than Kirk Cousins for sure. And that's about maybe the defensive tackle from Baylor. So out of all this mess, you probably have 5 or 6 guys making the team. And Jefferson's an excellent pick. So you probably got your cornerbacks. God, you took 3 cornerbacks in the top 5 rounds. You got 2 linebackers. So you're replacing your guys. So I'm sure in your system they'll be good. You got the wide receiver you needed for Diggs. And your problem is you still have Kirk Cousins. So Minnesota with 10 wins, just because they have a good coach. And they primarily focus on defense and Jefferson. But Kirk Cousins won't be able to find him anyway. But with Cook and Cousins and the tight end, who I can't think of. So Minnesota is still an attractive team. Can they beat Frisco? Not with Kirk Cousins. How they beat New Orleans with Kirk Cousins, I don't know. I'll give this a B, but just because of the volume, some of these guys will make it. It's like somebody will make the team because you drafted so many and you let so many go. I would have just signed the guys and off I went and not wasted money on Kirk Cousins. New Orleans. What do I say? They drafted 4 guys. I'll give it a C. The Ruiz, the lineman from Michigan, who the hell knows? What's the point? Braun, linebacker from Wisconsin, was okay. A tight end from Dayton and quarterback from Penn State who's not that good. So you'll have 2 guys make your team, an O-lineman and a linebacker, which doesn't mean anything. Drew Brees, it's them in Tampa for the title in the South. They'll probably win 13 games. Tampa will be about 12. Power of Tom Brady. New York Giants, another pathetic team. Again, the offensive lineman in the 4th pick. Oh my God. You lose a point for that. A defensive back from Alabama, you lose a point for that. An O-lineman from Connecticut, you lose 2 points for that. Defensive back from UCLA, O-lineman from Oregon in the 5th round, that's good. And then you draft 5 linebackers in a row. Penn State, Minnesota, who the hell knows? So obviously you need linebackers, it looks like, but you draft them. Instead of drafting the LSU guys in the 4th round, in the 1st round with your 4th pick, or trading that pick for a 1st and 2nd rounder to draft more better quality linebackers and defensive ends from LSU, what do? You draft some linemen from Georgia. How did they do against LSU? Against a real strong defense. Oh, they got their ass kicked. Okay. A stupid pick. Never draft offensive linemen in the 1st round. I don't care who it is, because the same guy, Shane Lemieux, in the 5th round is just as good as Andrew Thomas in the 1st round, and you got him in the 5th round where you could have drafted better players in the 1st round. A DB from Alabama is pathetic. LSU lit him up for 50 points. How good are the DBs at Alabama? And then a lineman from Connecticut? Really? Connecticut. They don't even play football there, and you're drafting them. Okay. So I see maybe 2 players. Maybe the DB from UCLA and the old lineman from Oregon. Outside of that, it's crap. I give it a D. Just a pathetic. You still have Daniel Jones. I'll give you 3 wins. You and Washington could fight it out for last place. Philadelphia, the best team in the division. What are they doing? I don't think too much. They draft their long wide receiver, Rieger, wide receiver TCU. Let's look at Rieger, the wide receiver from TCU. TCU. I'm looking at all the wide receivers from last year based on yards per game. And I don't see TCU, and I'm down to 77 yards per game. Enough said. So I don't get that pick. He's speedy. Well, yeah, but he can't catch. TCU, did they light it up? Let's look at TCU last year. TCU scored 30 a game in that conference, and Max Duggan's the quarterback. They threw for 204 yards a game and ran for 204. I don't get this pick. This is not. They did not throw the ball around. I could see an Oklahoma State wide receiver, LSU, Alabama. I can't see TCU wide receiver with your 1st pick. Bad. Jalen Hurts, quarterback, Oklahoma, is Lamar Jackson. All he can do is run. He can't hit the broadside of a barn. He's fast. If you're going to make him a running back, as I could see, as your quarterback, I can't see it. He's not accurate. He's too small. And I love Russell Wilson, but he's not an accurate quarterback. In the big games, what did he do? Take a look against LSU. He ran all over. So he likes all Oklahoma's doing is spreading the field. The wide receivers are running out, and then the quarterback, with everybody dropping ruts. Hardly an NFL caliber style. Terrible pick. He's not that good. Let's look at his numbers. Let's be fair. Okay. All right, so let's go to quarterbacks. Jalen Hurts, Oklahoma. Big 12 to the top. All right. 69%, a lot of short passes. 275 a game, 32 touchdowns, 8 interceptions. Not bad numbers. Sam Ehlinger, Texas, 32-10. Charlie Brewer, Baylor, 21-7. Brock Purdy is my man, 27-9. So he was the best in that weak conference. So 32-8, which is okay, but not a second round pick. It's a waste. Linebacker from Colorado, I don't know. Safety from Clemson. Clemson doesn't show me that much. Again, they're playing weak teams in the ACC. Jack Driscoll, O-lineman, Auburn. Okay, good pick in the 4th round. Hightower, wide receiver from Boise. Yeah, they got good players, maybe. Linebacker from Temple, wide receiver Southern Miss. Now you're really reaching. So of your picks, anybody adding value, maybe the linebacker from Colorado, the old lineman from Auburn, and the wide receiver from Boise. So maybe you picked up 3 guys that are any good. Jalen Hurts, wasted pick, unless you're going to play him as a running back or use him on the option on a 3rd and 1 or in the red zone where you want the quarterback to run. But he runs with the spread field. If you run him in the red zone at the 5-yard line, you're not spreading the field. They're going to key on him, and he can't throw. So I'm going to give this a C. I like Philadelphia, but I don't like you wasted your first 2 picks. I'll give you a C. San Francisco. You only had 5 picks. A defensive lineman from South Carolina with your first pick. That's terrible. Wide receiver, Arizona State. Okay. O-lineman from West Virginia. Tight end from Georgia. I'm going to give you a D. I don't really love the wide receivers you picked up, especially the kid from Tennessee. So of your top 2 picks, they might make the team. They won't start. You could have had LSU guys instead of a guy from South Carolina. I wonder about the GM. He's got his head up his butt. The guy from Tampa. You really don't need a DL. You need a quarterback, and you don't need running backs. I'm not sure you needed a wide receiver. Your basic needs a quarterback and a coach who doesn't throw the ball when he should be running it. So they'll be right up there fighting Seattle for the title, but the draft stinks. I'll give it a D. I don't see any value at all in it. Maybe the wide receiver from Arizona State. Seattle, Coach Pete. At first I didn't like the linebacker from Texas Tech in the 1st round, but I think he knows enough. He drafted Richard Sherman, so I'm going to give him credit that this guy's good. Linebacker from Tennessee, I'm really scratching my head about. Tennessee, what are you kidding me? You got a guard from LSU. Tight end from Stanford's pretty good. DJ Dallas from Miami's really good, but he gets injured, and that's it. So I look at it. It should help. They needed help on defense, and they needed help at running back, so they got what they needed. Hopefully these linebackers are up to Coach Pete's standards, so you got to trust Coach Pete when he drafts linebackers that he knows what he's doing. The guard from LSU will be helpful. The tight end should be helpful in the running back. So the top 5 should make the team and be helpful after that. You never know. With the kid from LSU, tight end, maybe. And the wide receiver from Florida, I've never heard of these guys, so they're definitely just fillers. So we'll see, but they'll be right up there fighting Frisco for the NFC West and the playoffs. And I think I got Tampa Bay. Tampa Bay. Now that Tom Brady's there, you look at the draft differently. O-lineman. Okay, normally I hate this, but when you got Brady and you've got the receivers you have, I don't care. An O-lineman from Iowa, probably not the best use of your first round pick, but we'll give it to you that you needed a lineman. It's a pick of need, so I'll give it to him. Winfield, defensive back from Minnesota. They could have had. They wanted Delpit, but he went to Cleveland to pick before, number 44. So we'll give them that. They need some defense. Keyshawn Vaughn, running back from Vanderbilt, was all SEC last year. He didn't have a great year, but he's a good running back. No problem. Wide receiver from Minnesota. A lot of Minnesota guys for some reason. Okay, fine, but he's got the wide receivers. Defensive lineman, Nebraska, I question. Linebacker from Temple, I question. And a running back from Louisiana, Monroe. So I give him the first 3 picks, maybe the Minnesota guy. So let's go 4 picks. He needed more defensive help, and their defense sucks. I look at Tampa as an over team, but you have Tom Brady. It's going to be over, but they'll be 12, 13. They'll be 12 wins. They'll be right up there with New Orleans. They'll probably beat them at Tampa. They'll kill Carolina and Atlanta. They both suck. So it'll be Tampa and New Orleans. One will win the division. One will be the wild card. That's the difference of Tom Brady. This is why New England, what do I say? They got 8 wins because Tom Brady's not there. They need a quarterback. Here, I got Tampa Bay with Tom Brady, and all of a sudden, they got 12 wins. That's the difference in a good all-pro quarterback. Washington. I hate this Chase Young pick. Everybody loves Chase Young for one game against Indiana or some Purdue or Indiana or something. He doesn't show up against Michigan, doesn't show up against Penn State, doesn't show up against Wisconsin, didn't show up against Clemson. I'm saying this guy had no tackles. He didn't even try. When you watch him, if he couldn't get by the lineman, he just stood there. And when he went around the quarterback, he just kept going around him. He never made a move to disrupt him. He didn't have any sacks in the big game. So now I'm wondering, how good is this guy really? He was very good against the weaker Big Ten teams, just like Tug Tagliabue, very good against the weak teams, but when he got in against the strong teams, he doesn't show up. Just food for thought. I'm not sure he's as good as you think. Washington still needs the quarterback. Anthony Gibb, wide receiver from Memphis. Okay, they throw the ball pretty good. I don't mind. Tackle from LSU in the 4th round, good. Wide receiver from Liberty. Liberty could throw the ball. That's a stretch in the 4th round, but all right. O-lineman from San Diego State. I don't mind. San Diego State could really run the ball well. Linebacker from Michigan. They weren't really good. DB from Arkansas. He won't make the team. And a defensive end from NC State. So I look at Washington. They'll be in last place. They'll win 2 or 3 games. I'm not crazy about the coach. I'm not crazy about their defense. I'm not crazy about their quarterback. All they got going for them is Adrian Peterson, I guess. So I don't know that they helped them. I don't know if they know what they're doing. You draft wide receivers from Memphis and Liberty, and you wonder why you're not going to be able to throw the ball. 2 O-linemen. Everybody needs O-linemen, but that's smart. You draft them in the 4th and 5th round. You don't waste your pick. Problem is they wasted the 1st round pick. This should have been traded with the quarterback, the Ohio State quarterback, to Cincinnati, and said, look, we want Joe Burrow. Joe Burrow is head and shoulders, and I gave you 10 reasons why, above all the others. Joe Burrow is so much better than the Ohio State quarterback that they got. This is what I don't understand. These teams have a quarterback, and they ignore a Joe Burrow. It makes no sense to me. So now what do you got? You still got shit quarterback, and now you got Chase Young, who maybe plays half the game if you're lucky, and he'll just go around the pile, and he won't, I bet he won't make 5 sacks next year. Terrible team. I don't see them winning 3 games. Them and the Giants for the basement. Dallas with 7 or 8 wins, and Philly will win 10 because this competition's bad. Any team that plays this division bet heavily on the other divisions. I don't know, whoever in the AFC plays these NFC East, just pound against Washington, the Giants, and if Dallas is on the road, take the home team. And Philly's the only team you gotta kind of watch out for. But just pathetic. So that's my draft analysis. Give Washington a C. The grades aren't as important. There's a few guys that make the team. The only critical guys are Joe Burrow is the only one who will really be the all-pro. Justin Herbert maybe will help. Green Bay wasted their time with Jordan Love. I'll tell you, Josh Love from San Jose State is better than Jordan Love from Utah State. He really looked good last year, and Jordan Love looked like crap. So if I'm watching the games and studying and looking at the players, I don't take Jordan Love. I take Josh Love. So I don't know what they look at. How much of this stupid, this training thing and this NFL day and all this, it doesn't mean anything. I could be a superstar with nobody rushing me. I mean, you got to face a blitz. What do you do? And I don't know. So those are my analysis on the draft. Again, it's who's going to make the team, who's going to help the team, that the draft makes sense. Did they draft player like Green Bay drafted a running back that they don't need? He's a good running back. They don't need him. They needed wide receivers, so their draft doesn't make sense. If they should have done the Denver draft where they pick up Judy and the Penn State guy, then Green Bay's draft would have been an A. But instead, they take Jordan Love when you could have had Jerry Judy, or you could have had Jefferson from LSU. What the fuck are you doing? Jefferson would have been the guy would have been an all-pro on Green Bay next year. Well, it's just stupidity. But this is why a lot of teams suck, and this is what kills me when these idiot analysts on TV and radio say tanking. There's no such thing as tanking. It's stupid GMs making stupid drafts. That's why they're lousy. They cover it up with tanking, but it doesn't matter if they tank or not. They don't know. They couldn't. Cincinnati stumbled into Joe Burrow. They didn't tank. They suck. They had Andy Dalton. He's fine. Whoever gets Andy Dalton's getting a quality quarterback. He's not going to hurt you. All right, everybody. Have a nice weekend. I'll be back with more. Talk some more football. That's what we all need right now. All right, have a great day. Have a great week. Stay safe. Stay healthy. Teaser King.